The family in the film is from rural Turkey. Bakir, a tyrannical man, his wife Havia, and their 3 children, Kadir, Saliha, and Yusuf, make up this group. Bakir is a man who is extremely demanding and controls the family with a firm hand. He is unusually strict with his oldest son, for some reason, while Kadir is nicer to his younger child, Yusuf. He also enjoys making videos, and in his spare time, he likes to use his camera to record things around his farm. Bakir's German friend pays a visit to his farm in the first scene. He is present to discuss his nephew, Jamil, who recently lost both of his parents and is now an orphan. Bakir is asked to keep Jamil with him because the man claims that the boy excels at farm work. Bakir gives it some thought before coming to the same conclusion because he too was an orphan once. He began raising the boy alongside his children that day. Later, it becomes clear that Saliha and Jamil are dating in addition to being good friends. Saliha sneaks covertly out of the house and meets Jamil in the barn while Bakir is watching TV on the couch. There, they flirt and fall in love. While his father is asleep, Kadir plays with his expensive camera and takes advantage of him. On the other hand, when Saliha comes back, she accidentally wakes their father, who sees Kadir playing with the camera. He grabs the camera in rage and violently beats the boy. After this, Bakir goes back to his room and tries to conceive with Havia, but she turns him down. She clearly has had enough of her husband's cruel treatment of their children. She also accuses him of cheating, and Bakir responds by saying that he goes to brothels because his own wife doesn't want to have sexual relations with him. After that, he tells Havia to be thankful because unlike the majority of Turkish husbands, he does not beat her. Havia becomes enraged upon hearing this, causing her to weep. Bakir asks the boy to start calling him father the following day while he and Jamil are working in the field. The latter responds enthusiastically and becomes emotional. While Bakir is absent, Saliha dances with Yusuf at home and plays loud music. In any case, this just disturbs their mom, who furiously closes the music down. She then asks Saliha to be more thoughtful the next time and chides her for having a negative effect on her brother. Kadir asks his father that evening during dinner if he will send them to college. The innocent question is sufficient to annoy the elderly man, who asserts that Kadir is not suited for college. He then asks his daughter if she wants to go to college as well, but Saliha says that she wants to stay in the village with him because she is afraid of her father. Meanwhile, Saliha's relationship with Jamil begins to deteriorate as a result of his growing closeness to Bakir. Bakir's relationship with his other children also changes as he begins to put the new boy ahead of them. Kadir sprays Jamil with a water hose as a harmless prank on him one day. Sadly, Bakir is enraged by this and decides to punish his older son. In retaliation, he grabs his camera and requests that Jamil spray Kadir with water. Bakir takes it upon himself to humiliate his son by drenching him and filming the entire thing when the orphan boy refuses to comply. Havia arrives quickly and rushes to her son's rescue right away. She some way or another persuades her significant other to stop the egregious demonstration. Be that as it may, he thinks of one more ruthless discipline. Bakir tells a wet Kadir to spend the entire evening outside in the cold. Because even Jamil regrets the entire incident, he allows Kadir to borrow his warm coat. Havia brings Kadir back inside as it begins to rain later. He gets dressed in warm clothes and watches TV with his dad. Bakir once more falls asleep on the couch while the poor boy goes to bed. Havia gets an idea when she sees this. She lets him sleep in the cold by opening the window and putting out the fire to show her disapproval of Bakir's horrible treatment of their children. Bakir gets sick the next morning, and the family finally has a day that isn't too bad. However, he does not recover after 2 weeks. Havia suggests calling a doctor, but her obstinate husband refuses to do so. Bakir eventually gathers his courage and, with the assistance of his beloved son Yusuf, ventures outside to get some fresh air after growing weary of constantly being confined to his bed. However, just as he begins to walk a little further, he violently coughs and then collapses on the ground. He tragically dies some time later. Havia moves the family to Ankara after being devastated by her husband's death as a result of her carelessness. After that, the movie jumps 30 years in the future. Kadir, Saliha and Kadir are presently undeniably developed and they carry on with particular existences of their own. Kadir is currently working on a film about his abusive childhood as a filmmaker. He has taken the film crew and his family to their old farm for this purpose. Havia has agreed to play her own part in the movie, but the village brings back negative memories of her past, making her less and less willing to play a role. She also objects to Kadir reenacting the moment when Bakir brutally sprayed him with a hose when he was a child. Havia suddenly starts repeating the words of her late husband, describing Kadir as a troublemaker and Yusuf as the most well-behaved child because she thinks it is disrespectful to Bakir. Despite everything, Saliha's daughter and the rest of the family, Nez manages to persuade her to take action. Havia is supposed to feed a sick Bakir in the scene, but when the camera starts rolling, she gets emotional and weeps. Kadir is forced to stop as a result, and he starts to feel awful, especially when Naz tells him that he will remember crying when his mother dies. Havia, Naz, and Saliha meet for dinner late that night. Havia is irritated when they discuss Yusuf's suggestion to sell the farmhouse. So, to cheer her up, Naz starts taking pictures of her grandmother with Kadir's behind-the-scenes, BTS, camera. Saliha recalls the moment she took Bakir to the hospital after he collapsed as they pose. Jamil also arrives at the farm the following day. It turned out that one of the actors was unable to attend the shoot, so Kadir brought Jamil in his place. When he finally sees Saliha again later, it becomes abundantly clear from their conversation that they are still in love. A young Saliha is shown sneaking out of the house in the movie's flashback to the past to confront Jamil about his ignoring her. To save their relationship, she tries to get close to him, but he turns her down. Jamil didn't want to break up his relationship with his new father. Kadir films Jamil's scene in the present, and the two talk after the shot. We learn from their conversation that Kadir is divorcing while Jamil never married. Kadir later requests that he reenact the scene as Jamil leaves. The first one says he needs to go to the bank right away, but the arrogant filmmaker won't let him go. Jamil makes a joke about Kadir's stubbornness and asks if he will be hosed down if he doesn't. After that, he agrees to complete his role, and Kadir moves on to filming. Be that as it may, whenever everything is wrapped up, it is uncovered that Jamil's joke hit excessively up close and personal, and it makes Kadir destroy. Saliha returns to the city with her mother and daughter after a few days, while Kadir stays behind to finish his film. The coronavirus pandemic quickly spreads throughout the world, putting Turkey under strict lockdown. After that, the scene jumps ahead 2 years, and Kadir is seen going through all of the footage he took. He gets emotional and starts to cry when he sees the BTS video that Naz and Havia shot. Yusuf and his family finally reach the farmhouse after the lockdown restrictions are eased. There, they discover that Kadir's health has seriously deteriorated as a result of the lockdown. He doesn't respond when Yusuf asks him why he hasn't finished the movie yet. Instead, he reveals that he has not spoken with Havia or Saliha in 2 years. Yusuf is disappointed when he hears this, so he tells them that the two will soon visit the farm. Kadir eventually breaks down during the conversation, and Yusuf comforts his older brother. He concludes that Kadir is concealing something, which is gradually consuming him internally. Saliha, Havia, and Naz arrive at the farm the following day. It is shown that Havia's condition has gotten worse since she got Alzheimer's. She doesn't even know who or what she is. In the meantime, Saliha inquires about her brother's film's progress, to which Kadir responds this time. However, all he says is that he has been unable to finish the film for a number of reasons. Havia has developed paranoia elsewhere, and she criticizes her own mirror reflection, describing it as a bad girl. Later, Naz pays Kadir a visit in the editing room and expresses concern about his condition. After that, she inquires about the BTS footage that she recorded for the movie. However, Kadir becomes enraged for some reason and tells her he has lost it. The three siblings think about selling the farmhouse later that night. Due to the pandemic, Yusuf has lost his job, so he wants to sell the property. Yusuf makes sarcastic remarks about the alimony she receives from her ex-husband because Saliha and Kadir oppose the idea. Saliha calls out both of her brothers for being so clueless about her life, which is expected to upset her. She explains that, like everyone else, she is having trouble paying her bills and that her ex-husband has stopped paying her alimony. When Yusuf hears this, he apologizes, but then he starts talking about his older brother. Kadir slaps him across the face when the situation gets out of hand. Havia shows up there suddenly and finally recognizes her children. She recalls the time that little Yusuf ran to her and informed her that Bakir had fallen to the ground. After that, the movie cuts to the past. The family took Bakir to the hospital after he started to fall, where he regained consciousness and told Havia that he wouldn't make it out alive. Havia must never allow their children to sell their farm, he tells her, when they get older. He claims that he wants his grandchildren to see the farm that their grandfather built himself. Havia did not sell the property after Bakir's death, nor did she remain there. She relocated the family to Ankara to start over. Havia disregarded Saliha's protests regarding the choice. Back in the present, the family decides to have some fun after dinner. Yusuf plays the song from their childhood that got them in trouble with their mother and challenges his sister to a dance. Jamil brings Bakir's recently refurbished old car the following day. As it turned out, Yusuf had given it to Jamil for renovation, but he was unable to pick it up, so Jamil brought it home out of courtesy. He continues to be the gentlemanly gentleman he once was. Jamil then reveals that Kadir goes to his dad's grave on a regular basis because he seems to miss him. The other siblings are surprised by this because Kadir and their father had a difficult relationship. Later, while everyone is having lunch, Havia spots Jamil and slowly walks over to him. After that, she suddenly begins attacking him for playing with Saliha as a child. It turns out that Jamil had been warned by Havia not to start a relationship with Saliha, which led to their relationship ending. In the meantime, Naz stays in Kadir's editing room, where she finds the upsetting video of Bakir hosing Kadir down with water. Jamil is getting ready to leave in the following scene, and Saliha prepares dinner for him. But he comes back after saying his goodbyes and walking some distance. He then tells Saliha that he went to Ankara to find her when she was in her last year of college. He eventually found her, but he made the decision to leave her alone because she appeared content in her life without him. As Saliha is once more reminded of how different her life would have been without Jamil, this brings her to tears. In the meantime, Naz confronts Kadir in his room and inquires about his troubled upbringing. He responds with a tear in his eye, yes, but also mentions that he has moved on from the situation. Following this, Naz asks, assuming that he has truly lost the BTS film, and when Kadir at long last tells the truth, she hurries to the altering room. She eventually plays the camera that was hidden in a drawer. Saliha and Yusuf also gather around the television to watch the commotion, which piques their interest. Havia talks about the night before Bakir got sick in the video. She says that she put sleeping pills in Bakir's tea and let him sleep in the cold without a fire or windows open. Havia claims that Bakir would have woken up and shut the windows if he hadn't been under the influence of drugs. Naz is astonished after watching the entire video when Havia breaks down in tears because she regrets giving her husband the sleeping pills. The movie comes to a close with Kadir arriving to confirm that Havia was involved in the death of their father. Thanks for watching my videos. Please hit that like button and do not forget to subscribe to my channel.